As a player, you think you play forever. You know, no player wants to say that's it, or I'm slowing down, my legs aren't what. It comes to us all. So I think what you've got to do is, you know, I've always had a natural kind of empathy with players. When I was captain at different clubs, or even when I wasn't captain, you know, I would talk to others. I wasn't afraid to say my piece in the right way. I would look at games. I would look at, obviously you look at your own individual performance, but I'd look at the team and I would ask myself questions, why are we doing this? And then I would work it out for myself. All right, I understand why the coach or the manager is doing this. And what happened in my last year as a player, something I've always done, I was helping players with the game, the younger fullbacks. They would come to me, I would discuss the game with them. And I think Nigel just said, well, you're actually coaching and managing. You may not think you know, but you are, unofficially you are. And, you know, I'd already had one of my coaching licenses. So I made sure I started to brush up on those and get my A licence, and I've got my pro licence now. But that was really important for me, that actually someone towards the end of my career noticed that. And at the end of the season, I was going to retire. And Nigel said, look, I think you could be a coach. I'd like to bring you on the staff. We were in the Championship. And I said, well, I need to think about it. And thinking back now, that was crazy, because someone was giving me an opportunity for the next step of my career. And I've been PFA chairman. I was looking at going on the administration side of football. I've always done media work. I was looking at that. But if you're not playing, the next best step is coaching and managing. And that, I felt, you know, actually, what am I thinking about it for? This is someone giving you an opportunity for the next step in your career. So luckily for me, I took it. From their first contact to Leicester City, to them giving me the job, was less than 24 hours. I mean, I didn't know a thing about it. It was quite amazing. I was in my apartment in Leicester, had a phone call from the chief exec at Leicester saying Charlton have called, they'd like to interview you. It was a Wednesday night. I said, well, as long as Sven knows, then if you allow me to talk to them, I will. Leicester said yes, reluctantly, as Sven did, but I went along. Thursday afternoon down in central London. I had an interview for 2.5 hours. I was really underprepared because, you know, I had no real warning, but I brushed up on my knowledge of the squad. Obviously, I knew Charlton as a club and a fan base and the infrastructure and everything about them. And I always looked on what was going on from afar. But I had the interview. I left the interview. I was planning to jump on a train back up to Leicester for our game. The chairman and the chief exec at the time said, no, stay in London. So I walked around central London for an hour, got a phone call, and they said, we've decided it's you. So I got the job. You know, that's a strange feeling that you're now a manager of a football club after just being a coach for the first team and the under-21s at Leicester, to being a manager at a club. You know, you represented for a long time and learnt a lot and went through a lot with the club and played for England while you're at Charlton. All of a sudden, now you're the manager. So it was an amazing turnaround and something that I was looking forward to. But to be honest with you, I was quite apprehensive as well. But I believed in myself and I knew over time I could be a success there. That week and the training, and it is daunting. You know, I'll be amazed if anyone says that no, it's not, because ultimately everyone's looking at you. Everyone's looking for direction from you, whether that's players, whether that's staff around the club, and it's something you're not used to, and you have to get used to it pretty quickly. And I must admit, my first 6 months were tough. You know, we won a number of games, but, you know, that first game really stood out. We were playing Plymouth at home. Peter Reid was manager of Plymouth. The players went out for a warm-up, and Peter Reid came into my room, and I was thinking, that's not normal. And I was thinking, was he trying to unnerve me? And of course, I was really nervous. I was on my own. I'm thinking, players got to come back in, and then we've got to go out and we've got to start winning games, getting points. But actually, he was being quite, looking back on it now, he was just being himself. He was just being friendly. He was talking about his troubles at Plymouth. I don't think he was trying to unnerve a new young manager. But I've never forgotten that moment, because I just thought, well, is this normal? Does the opposition manager come in? I've never seen it before. But we went out and won the game. And that was great. It was a good start, and we won my first 4 games. But then we didn't win for close on 9-10 games, could even be longer. And that was a real tough time for a young, new manager. But what was afforded to me, and what I said in my interview, was I'm going to change the whole culture. I'm going to change a lot of the squad and how we work, and I need that backing. And we signed 16 players in that summer, and I really changed a lot around. There was a lot of planning and foresight from myself and my staff at the time, Alex Dyer, Damien Matthew, Ben Roberts, and Phil Chappell, who was head of recruitment, and we changed the whole place. And it was a success. We ran away with League One, and we started to get that momentum, which I learnt as a player under Alan Kirbishley, what that club can be like with momentum. We really got it going, and we settled into the Championship, and we just couldn't build on it. We wanted to, just missed out on the playoffs, and that's what you need. I've always felt if you get that momentum, you get the whole club together, staff, players, community, and the supporters, you just get on a crest of a wave and you just keep going. And we had that there, and it's something that I think every manager would like to have. I knew Charlton. As a player, I knew the supporters. I think I know every supporter at Charlton. I've been there so many times. But I knew what it took. I learned that from Alan, from Kirbishley, without a doubt. It's quite a unique club in how they've run, what setbacks they've had, how they've overcome them. The supporters have always been involved in getting the club back from when they moved away. So I knew if I could get them on side, they'll stick with it. What I was allowed to have was those 6 months of looking at the squad and looking how downbeat and how there was a disconnect. So I asked everyone to trust me, asked the supporters to trust me. It was a bold step. And like you say, it's something that not too many people do, but I felt I needed to do it. It was the change I felt the club needed at the time. They needed new heroes, they needed a new way of thinking, and they really bought into it. So it was a brave move, and people were saying players need time to gel. But what we did do was our recruitment was in a way that we felt not only could I handle playing in Division 1, but they could also, if it went well, they could stay with us in the Championship. And that certainly was the case with someone like Dale Stephens, who's now starring in the Premier League, Jan Kermorgant. There were players there I felt could grow organically with the club, grow as players, and all of a sudden they'll find themselves in the higher climbs with us, but if not, move on. So it was a brave call, but I actually felt with our organisation, our coaching and leadership from all of us, that we could get them into where we wanted to, and it certainly happened. I think you've got to have a way of working, in your relationship with your owner and people that run the club is key. It really is key. I could see the way it was going. I was actually shielding a lot of what was going on off the field from the players, but sadly I had to keep it away from the fans and from my staff. So I took a lot of it on myself. And then when the takeover happened, and I knew things weren't great and were not going to be, and I know it happens, takeovers, invariably there's a change of manager. But I was scared for the identity of the club. I was scared for what could happen, and all the hard work that so many people put in could go to waste. People were very dismissive of the players we had. We hadn't been able to build, and you trust people and you think you're going to get the backing. Didn't have it, and I understand that now. That as a manager, you got to have that link and that relationship to make it work, because ultimately you're judged on what you do as a football club and what results you get. So it was a real tough period for me, and I was afraid for what could happen to Charlton. Sadly, it came to fruition because there was an idea of using players from other clubs who weren't playing for those clubs. They could be parachuted over to play in the Championship or League One. I'm saying, they need to be able to play at this level. It's very, very unique. It's very tough. It's quite relentless. Sadly, the team stayed up that year, which I was confident of and which was great, but ultimately they got relegated, and that was quite depressing, really, because you just think all that hard work of everyone getting the team back up to the Championship. Charlton is a Championship club minimum, but I think a lot of people looking at the stadium and everything couldn't get the Premier League out of their heads, and that was one thing I had to overcome when I went back as manager. And then again, when the takeover happened, it just wasn't going to happen. So a real disappointing end to my time there. I took the role at Derby because as assistant manager, I'd never taken that role, and I wanted to see how an assistant worked. But ultimately, I knew I was the number one. I had the experience at Charlton and Huddersfield, and I wanted to have that feeling again. You want to be in the game, and you want to coach, and whatever level, if you think it's right for you, you do it. But I had an interview in the summer, which wasn't successful. I had another one at the start of the season, which didn't work out. Then I turned down 2 opportunities. But then I was really enjoying my time out, my media work. I was speaking at unis. I was going to LMA events, improving myself, keeping my continued education going. But I was missing the game. I was missing the game. And so I turned down a few opportunities. I was thinking, well, I'm going to have to get back on this pretty quickly. And it was 10 months, which is quite a long time. But I kept myself going, started scouting at Premier League level. So I was watching games. I was watching games at League One, League Two, making sure I knew if I got an opportunity, whether it's Championship, League One, League Two, that I had a fair idea of what was going on. And in the end, I got an opportunity to be interviewed for Southend, another club I played for, and was successful.